Damn NaToSaphiX, back at it again with another video, this time again for play.gg. Today we're trying to answer the question, is the support role dead in today's Counter-Strike? Let's get into it. To answer the question if a team in today's Counter-Strike absolutely needs a support player, I've picked out a demo from world number 1 FaZe Clan, the team famously known for having 5 star players. Before starting this video, I was not sure what my verdict at the end of the video would be. But now that I've had some time to gather my thoughts, I've come up with the answer that in today's Counter-Strike there really is 3 different types of support players. And it's important to know what kind of support player each team has. The first type of support player that we will be taking a look at today is the sort of running support. This is a type of support that is just creating the space in almost any given situation, and Karrigan is a great example of just that. The reason why the running support is a support playstyle at all is, for example, in this round where Karrigan is creating the space in a very tough situation. It's never fun to be the first guy running through a smoke with no flash, but Karrigan does it time and time again, and that is why he works as sort of the support player for FaZe. For FaZe, Karrigan is using his utility for his teammates on rounds where it is nice to go in front. And the rounds where his team doesn't have any utility at all, it is typically Karrigan leading the charge. Over the last few years, it has become more and more meta for IGLs to play this kind of running support style, where they are playing very aggressively and having a lot of entry deaths. So even though you could kind of argue that FaZe is a team that doesn't really have a support, they simply have an in-game leader who is the support player for the team. By having your in-game leader in a super dynamic support role, you are ensuring that you are maximizing sort of the firepower and the potential of your star players. It can therefore easily seem like FaZe doesn't have a support player, when in reality the role is just hidden inside the in-game leader. These type of heavy support IGLs also typically take the sort of bad roles on the CT side, like Karrigan here playing Monster on Overpass. Moving over to our second type of support, here is Inters from Cloud9. Inters is essentially what we would call a true support or a team play support. When people talk about support players in Counter-Strike, this is typically what they mean. This kind of support playstyle has over the last few years been heavily criticized and has for a lot of people sort of been seen as a crutch for bad players to excuse their bad play. A lot of people believe that there is no longer a demand for these kind of support players who are very passive, but whose sort of main strength is facilitating team play. With Karrigan, his impact is obvious because he's running in front, sometimes getting entry frags or at the very least getting traded. But with someone like Inters, whose main strength is usage of utility and sort of just playing his role without mistakes, there isn't a whole lot of love. When the question, is there space for a support player in today's Counter-Strike, gets asked, this is essentially what the question is. In reality, the difference between Inters and Karrigan isn't that big. They both are the type of people who will be creating the space in the tough rounds, like this one for example, and they are both rarely given a very advantageous fight. In Cloud9, they have a lot of active playmakers, where they need a guy who is selfless but also not making a whole lot of mistakes. In FaZe, however, they need an aggressive element to make up for Brokey and Robs being of a more passive nature. So is one support playstyle directly better than the other, or are they just different? Was Outsiders with Sanji a better team than Outsiders with Flit? I would have to say yes. This brings us to the third and final support playstyle. I've picked out BlameF, who in my opinion is a support player, a sort of support star, which is another sort of unique support playstyle. Now, I imagine that a lot of people in the comment section down below will be disagreeing with me, but hear me out first. For those who remember, a few years back, coldzera was number 1 in the world 2 years in a row, one of the few players to do so in Counter-Strike history, and what he was known for was kind of this baity playstyle where he definitely would let his teammates go in first, but then he would always be cleaning up the round, winning some outrageous clutches, and from it kind of getting a little bit inflated stats. Having played with BlameF for a few months in Heroic, I know that this man's utility usage is just unreal. He has got a fantastic read of the game and he is really good at using his utility to better his teammates' chances of getting a kill. Not only is he fantastic with utility, he is arguably, but in my opinion definitely the best trade fragger in the world right now. After watching BlameF's Overpass demo, I have never seen a player who so often gets outshot and still manages to support his monster player. Support comes in many shapes and sizes. You can create space, you can use utility, or or you can be a great trade fragger and always be in the right position to help your teammates when needed. What these three players have in common is that they always are surrounded by teammates one way or another. Either Kerrigan is creating space and he gets traded, Intos flashes for someone else, or BlameF trades a teammate. These are players who are only really in the spotlight when their teammates are either dead and they are clutching, or their teammates are dying and they are trading. So why do I call people like BlameF a support star instead of an outright star player? Well, that has a lot to do with the difference in mid-round aggression. Someone like BlameF we really only see go very aggressive in anti-eco rounds, and the traditional star player like Simpo, Syvo, Nico, those kind of people, they have some rounds where they are passive and using their utility for their teammates, but they also have rounds where their teammates are using utility for them, so they can make an aggressive play, take a lot of map control and try to win the round on their own. Another big reason that I would characterize BlameF as being a support star is because on the T sides he mainly has very outlier-esque positions. He's not really in the map control and so can't play in the same manner that a traditional star player can. For me, another big difference is that a support star typically has outlier positions on the T side and will then have a very active role on the CT side. We saw Kerrigan and Intos play Monster on Overpass, which is like the support player role, but BlameF, as we know, plays A on Overpass, where there's a lot of kills to be found. So to conclude here at the end, has the support player role died in today's Counter-Strike? Definitely not. Has it evolved over time? Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching the video.